takeaways coming from the finance track, and one important, I think, key mention is that of cryptocurrency. It appears that G20 delegation has endorsed the IMF FSB paper that talks about need to regulate and not ban cryptocurrency, because that's not going to help it.
So again, Shweta, I think the synthesis paper crafted jointly by the IMF and the FSB, the Financial Security Board, is again more of a roadmap, more of a framework, rather than a set of rules, rather than an agreement on what the eventual sort of future for cryptocurrencies should look like. I think the agreement has been arrived at, understanding has been arrived at, that there is merit in all countries of the G20 bloc and now G20 plus African Union for that matter. So it's actually G21 or G20 plus 55 or however you want to look at. But basically the synthesis paper has been accepted as a good roadmap for countries to delve deeper into and hopefully arrive at by the year 2025, when this paper comes up for review again, where every country is going to actually, be asked to put in further recommendations after reviewing how their countries have respectively implemented the framework, prescribed by this FSB and IMF synthesis paper. Now again, what are the highlights here? I think the countries have broadly agreed that there is a very clear-cut need that by way of any sort of acceptance of cryptocurrency, any financial risk needs to be mitigated. And this financial risk also has two elements. The first element is protection of users who are eventually using cryptocurrencies to make any sort of transactions. The second is the entire stability of the monetary system per se. So all countries have agreed that, while the synthesis paper has also recommended it, but all countries seem to have agreed in the New Delhi Declaration that the cryptocurrency would, for no country, be legal tender replacing cash or replacing currency as we know it. So it's not going to be legal tender, it's not going to be legal currency. However, there is no ban on cryptocurrencies, neither is there an agreement on regulation of, there is agreement that cryptocurrency needs to be regulated. How it gets regulated, the synthesis paper doesn't elaborate much on that. There are ideas, there are suggestions, there is a framework for countries to look at objectively in their own respective context, and there would be a review 2 years from now in 2025, but until then there is still no decision on who moderates or who regulates cryptocurrencies. The only agreement thus far is that cryptocurrency for the G20 countries is not going to be legal tender, is not going to be legal currency.
The G20 has now said and firmly agreed on it's not legal, but it will be regulated.
Not legal tender.
Not legal tender, which essentially means it's not legal.
Which means
Karthik,
it's not,
because if cryptocurrency is used for exchange of money.
Legal tender is cash currency.
Exactly.
Legal tender
so, but that is the
money,
use
right?
of cryptocurrency,
Now,
isn't it?
You could use it as a barter tool.
But that
a barter is not legal tender, right? It doesn't buy you goods and services of the prescribed value. A 100 rupee note will buy you goods and services worth 100 rupees.
Right.
Cryptocurrencies by their nature are volatile. They are driven by laws of demand and supply. Their value appreciates or depreciates. So cryptocurrencies cannot replace cash. And that is legal tender, right? Cash is legal tender.
Right. I want to understand from you. So for example, you hire me for a service and you pay me in cryptocurrency. Would that then be legal, since it's not a legal tender, but you're paying me for my service?
No.
So essentially saying it's a ban.
So cryptocurrency is not part of the monetary policy of any country.
Right. So would it then not be right to say it's banned?
It's not banned. It's not banned. Different countries have different taxes on it. It is not illegal even in India to use cryptocurrencies. It's just that if you trade in cryptocurrencies and you make profits, you pay a 30% tax to the government. But if you make losses, you can't mitigate those losses against the profits you've made. So for every profit that you make on cryptocurrencies, you pay the government 30% tax, no matter what income bracket you are in. So by way of cryptocurrency being taxed in India, it does not make cryptocurrencies illegal, because there is a formal taxation framework. But so cryptocurrency cannot replace cash. You can't go to the market and you cannot go to a store and use cryptocurrency to purchase a good or a service.
Right.
But you can trade in cryptocurrencies. For example, you cannot go to the market and use your mutual funds or your SIP or your fixed deposit even to make a transaction.
Got
it's
it.
a
So
it's a financial asset.
Okay.
It is not a monetary asset.
Got
Right. So it's a financial asset. However, that financial asset up until now across the world is unregulated. So in the case of mutual funds, while you can't make a transaction, if you happen to lose money or if a company dealing with mutual funds goes kaput, you have SEBI who steps in and protects your interests. So the
In crypto's case, no one
in
will.
crypto, you don't have a regulator. It is neither the RBI nor SEBI, nor the Ministry of Finance.
And this is what the regulation will
Now,
do?
the regulation is saying that every country needs to arrive at a framework. The synthesis paper recommends, and that synthesis paper, which has been accepted or adopted in the New Delhi Declaration, states that every country will have to work towards regulating cryptocurrencies
Okay.
with the objective of mitigating risks therein, risks for individuals as well as risks for the monetary stability of every country.
Okay.
So those are the systemic and individual risks which will have to be monitored, and a regulation for each country will have to be arrived upon. And that is the consensus. That is the agreement that, yeah, all G20 countries are going to individually work within their own geographic confines and political confines to arrive at some way of regulating cryptocurrencies. However, cryptocurrency is not banned. Cryptocurrency is not illegal, but cryptocurrency is not legal tender. It will not replace the existing cash system.
And some sort of regulation and template will be arrived at a later summit of finance minister and central bank governors in Morocco.